You see what sending out them negative waves did, Moriarty?
But oddball, I did try and tell them, but they won't listen. I tried.
Sure.
But I did try.
Oh, man. Don't hit me with them negative waves so early in the morning.
But I can't force them to listen. I can't.
Always with the negative waves, Moriarty. Always with the negative waves.
Have a little faith, baby. Have a little faith.
But I keep trying. Oddball, I keep trying. But they won't listen. They won't tune in. They really won't.
Why don't you knock it off with them negative waves? Why don't you dig how beautiful it is out here? Why don't you say something righteous and hopeful for a change?
Tune in to Awake Radio for your positive waves.
Hello and welcome to Paula Live. I am streaming live from England tonight, not Florida, so I'm a lucky gal. Spent most of the day down at the Live Pulse News studio working with those guys down there. Place was crawling with gremlins, and I didn't let them in, so I don't know what was going on there, but they're a great bunch to work with. I'm awfully lucky to get to hang out with them and learn. And I have my best friend, like, in this entire world that really understands what it's like to be me in my house. I met her at a support group, for God's sake.
Yeah, we
should.
We could just swap each other's lives and still live the same way.
Oh, dear God, I know it. This is Belinda Vandright, and she has come to talk to us about the importance of the training now, the first responders, to helping with special needs family. Welcome, sister.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. And I'm so proud of you. It's a pleasure to be talking and doing this with you.
Awesome. I hope to have you on more because, there are just so many things to talk about with our kids that are not published or not out there, and the numbers are rising constantly every year, just with a steady climb. So we're talking about a part of autism that some of the adults get really mad at us talking about that. Have you seen any of that, Belinda? They'll have videos saying we're not violent, we're not, mean. Some of those things are scary, but they're different people putting up real life situations on YouTube and other places asking for help, saying, I'm not a tragedy, I'm a human being, and, so that's
the reality. Right, the reality of it is that there's a spectrum, right? There are high-functioning Asperger children, adults, that can actually function fine, Maybe they're just a little anxiety around people and situations. They can handle it. Then you have high-functioning autism, in the higher spectrum, but they don't really talk a lot. They don't really socialize, but they still can function. But then you do have children and families that are having a difficult time because there are, like, our kids that can't function and exist with our way of living, with so much noise, with,
smells.
Sensory, right, smells.
The overload with the eyes. Oh, wow, that's Jordan.
Yeah, they can't handle it, and the only way they can, show it and handle it is through behavior. So, they go through times where, objects means nothing to them, So as families, we have to deal with that. And, of course, we want to keep our children safe. So sometimes, we live in situations where we don't have anything but the bare necessities just because we know it's going to be broken, right?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. You want to make it safe. And a lot of people don't see that side. Of course, when it comes to autism, you want to promote they're amazing children. Of course they are, that they're bright and there's so many, they're gifted. That's a good one when they say, oh, they're so gifted with numbers and stuff. And it's like, well, that's not my son on my spectrum.
Is he like Rain Man? Oh, Jesus.
Right. Is he like Rain Man? Oh my gosh, how many times have I heard that, you know?
Oh my
But in
God.
some aspects in Rain Man, yeah, you know, when
Yeah.
he could not deal with the situation, he would have this meltdown. He didn't know what to do with himself, where to go, where to be.
Gotta go to Kmart. Not that
You know?
Kmart. The Kmart on this street. It has to be this street. Ah, he's just
Yeah.
like,
And
and it
you know,
starts.
so they act out. You know, do they take stuff and you know, yes, like when you were a 3-year-old child and you used to have tantrums where you're trying to express yourself and no one's listening and you just get so upset that you just want to scream, and anything around you, you just want to be a bull in a china shop. Yeah, you
Yeah.
know. But unfortunately for our children, they're that way. It is what it is. You know, it's what God has given us to kind of
Exactly.
deal with, and a lot of that, it's funny because I was thinking, wow, when Eddie, when my son was born, I didn't realize how much I would have to step out of the box, and every year that he grew up, try to figure out, okay, now that he's growing up, what are the things that I have to do? Think of things in advance.
Ahead of
You know?
time, so you're ready. So you're
Yes,
watching all this other
girlfriend.
stuff. You're pulling all this information.
Yes. If I'm going to go
Yeah.
to the store, is this, I'm already thinking about the situation in my head, right? How
How
long am
can
I
I
going to
not
be there?
pass
10
those
minutes?
donuts? Or
Yeah.
if
Am I
you're
going to
in
be there for
line,
10
you
minutes
can
or 20?
forget it. You can forget it. You're gonna
Is
leave. You
this
know
person
you're
going to
gonna.
come over to me and tell me, you need to quiet your son down? And how am I going to react? After a while, it's like, whatever.
Yeah,
you know?
it could be really intense.
Yeah. So, with our children, with that comes, okay, at the age of 4, I know I can hold him in the store if
Oh,
that way he doesn't run away. That way he's not knocking things over, or, I can control that situation better.
yeah.
But at the age of 10, it's a whole different story. My little boy's grown, and he's kind of like a brick house, a beautiful brick house.
163
you
pounds.
know,
Jordan weighs 163 pounds. I
right?
weighed, the last time I weighed myself was 107, and I've been eating good, so we'll pack on, say
Yeah,
I'm 110 pounds. It was me versus Hercules over there. Or like the
right.
neighbors call him Bam Bam.
Right. Oh my gosh, he does look like Bam Bam, like that cuteness and just the strength. He's so funny. Yeah, he is Bam Bam. But right, those are the situations as parents that we have to think of um, as our children are getting older, because they're not going to be, especially our kiddos, they're not going to be independent.
Mm,
Like our other children, of course, they're normally developing where we can have a breather in a sense because they're more independent. Our children
absolutely.
remain basically around that age, that innocent age, and they don't grow out of it.
No,
So,
they're almost a baby mixed with an adult at times because you have to, if I'm not watching Jordan right now, he's picking locks
right.
because he
Mhm.
has destroyed his computer. He's going on for some. No one has a phone in my house because he knows
Right.
how to get internet access and has gotten mad from it being, slow.
Right.
Caleb has one.
No tolerance.
He's just like
No
brother.
tolerance.
Try it. We're going down. If
Yeah. Uh,
you just gotta
yeah.
understand the dynamics in the house.
It's a no tolerance for things that are not working to the way they think it should work. You
Hmm.
know, because they don't have that understanding. They don't understand like, all right, I touched this button, so something should be happening. But in our world, we touch a button like a computer or something, and it needs to download, or it needs, it's waiting time. They don't understand that waiting time.
That
It's not
waiting time is not a good
right.
thing for them.
Right. Like, what is that? I don't understand. So, it's I say it's an everyday, it's a new experience, and sometimes there are really good experiences. Like you feel like you can go out into the community and you're having a wonderful time and nobody notices anything wrong, you know? And then there are times that you go out and you're saying to yourself, "Oh gosh, I hope that everything is smooth, or that we can do this and not short a vacation or a day out or,
Because we are the families you see walking out of restaurants that has ordered, but the food's not there or halfway there, and we're just like, I can't say that on radio. Forget it. We're
right,
out of
you
here.
order it and, you're like, oh, gotta leave it, gotta go, or just, pack it up, or, or when you go to the movie theater, how's that one,
Oh, you never know.
Right, like
Jordan sees that big screen. If he's too close, he'll pass right out. When it
wow.
comes on, it's just so overwhelming. He can't stand it. His sensory just shuts down. I was like, oh my
Right.
God.
And it's
Just like my kid just passed out. For God's sake.
And it's weird because, my son, he used to be able to go to the movies.
Eddie
There was a time
Spaghetti.
when he could go. And now, I don't know, maybe I think that sensory changes as they get older. Sometimes they can, certain things like taste and touch gets better, but then maybe another sensory like hearing might get a little bit more intense.
Taste and touch are still hard. Jordan still will eat 3 things. That's it. Or nothing,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah.
But I see him calming down more. And I was expecting the opposite. So please, as these hormones start raging in my kid's body, let it continue to calm.
I think the most, like with Eddie, I would have been happy with, because that, I'll say it. Right now he's in the residential setting, but he does come home on weekends and holidays.
Yeah.
But it was getting to the point where safety was the biggest issue with Eddie, because we could just not, doorways that we've, that other people, families don't realize, like, we would have his door locked on the outside of his room because of the fear of waking up in the middle of the night and walking out the door.
They
no matter
don't have the sleep. Jordan's done it. Jordan's left the house. 5 a.m.
Yeah, it happens. It happens. It happens to a lot of families. People
And
don't want to admit it.
we were told if it happens again, we'll be arrested for neglect, for being asleep when someone slips out. So.
And that's why I think it's important to at least bring up the forum of really having parents get together, or maybe in school, and saying, okay, let's look at inviting first responders to understand what our children are going through, what the family is going through, and what is needed for when we do get into the situation where our children are wandering.
Yeah, just because, the wandering, plus just a little bit on the neurological side, they need to know that if they say, stop, that's not going to happen. Verbal commands do not work on most of our kids. And there are some that will be injuring themselves constantly. A friend of mine works with a little girl that she was just holding her hands down the whole time that she was at this one residential place, and the little girl finally managed to bust her eardrum, where she hits herself in the ear, and that little boy had hurt the lens of his eye. The frustration makes them not only act out on to others, but they can harm themselves. Jordan will hit himself in the head with his hand and his fist. It's really upsetting to see.
Yeah. I mean, I know with Eddie, it was more of him eloping out of the house. I mean, we were really good about keeping the house, so what about when they were eloping out of the school? Now that's a whole...
Oh, my God, did he get away from the school?
Yes. From many times he would just leave the building. Now, we've had a situation not here where I live, but down in New York City, where a child with autism ran out of the school, and that's devastating to be frantic as a parent trying to, and the school trying to figure out where and how to rescue, a child.
Yeah,
And
what's
in
the
that sense,
parent-teacher ratio? Who dropped the ball there? I mean,
um,
we're locked up down here like Fort
yeah,
Knox. If you just want to bring in a backpack or a coat, they forgot.
yeah, and
Bang, and you get
I don't
scanned and
really
you don't
know.
get back there.
It's
How the
strange, all
hell?
right? So, like, in the residential setting that Eddie lives, right, they're not allowed to have locked doors.
Oh,
So
Jesus.
they have that keypad, that opens the door, but then the alarm goes off that lets you know someone has left the building.
Plus, someone's awake all night long, right? The
Because
staff.
it's a fire code. They're so they have other doors that lead out in case of a fire. They have many access, but it's really good how, and this is strange. They have all these children living in this residential area, and somehow they've trained them through um,
Repetition, probably over
right,
and over.
repetition of learning, not to go out that door, because as soon as they hear it, then there's like 20 people running out, and getting the child back. Now, so Eddie had to learn that, you know what I mean? Like, he really had to learn that, and then now they don't even recognize that the door opened,
Yeah.
it's through training. It's just like you said, repetition, that now his safety is, I can trust him better now to be able
Shoot,
to go
Jordan
out.
would be picking the window. I swear that kid runs away.
Oh,
He knows the one
that's
second you
been many
turned your
times too.
head. I swear.
Yeah, that's been many times too, where they've had to take how they crank the window open.
Yeah.
They crank them they've taken that key out just because Houdini
I've
wants
got
to
it.
create.
Jordan put his fist through the window in his room, so I had the glass chain, but I was afraid that he'd just do it again, so I've got this board. And you know what I'm thinking of?
Yeah,
The old house of the scary movie where they've got someone boarded up in the freaking attic. I'm
right,
like,
and
oh
that's what
God,
it
I'm the
seems.
scary house down the street with some board over the window.
Right. So
Uh,
in that sense, and bringing it about, that's why it's so important to reach out. Which it's funny because you don't go to doctors, like you go to doctors and they know about behaviors, and if you do go to a psychiatrist, they know about the behaviors, right?
well, the one
But
that told
no
me the
one's
truth
there,
said, no one lives it. That's why you got to get the
right,
support group and you got to talk to other
right.
parents.
Because what happens is there's no one out there, no agency, unless it's like to the point where it's, like a CPS is coming to the house, family services are coming in. And then they might provide a better way to say, okay, this is what you're going to need, this, and this. But there isn't any agency, there isn't any doctor's office that's going to tell you, make the steps to get in touch with first responders. So that way, you'll have your fire department, you'll have the local police department, the state troopers, knowing what your home situation is with your child.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's funny, but, after having experiences at my house calling for help and dialing, 911, which I suggest that do not call 911 if you
Yeah,
find
could you
you
share
call
that
your local.
experience with us? We shared a little bit over Wake Radio TV the other day and touched on it, but in case someone didn't get to hear, would you mind
Yeah.
sharing what happened to you?
Well, my son was on a newer kind of medication, trying to see, if it would help with his anxiety levels and stuff. Not so great, because then we noticed, like, for the past few days, he was really, sometimes these medicines can make him more aggravation going on, and the stress, and make the situation worse. Well, this medication did. So we could not stop him from, running into things, running with his hands against the glass window, which you just mentioned about Jordan. That's what we were afraid of, that he would wind up cutting up his arms and stuff. He was really out of control. He could not calm himself down or come down from there. He was, breaking out things, tore up the living room. So everything was like all over the place. I mean, everything was a mess. The kitchen, he had taken dishes and threw them all over the place. So at this point, I told my husband, I said, we really need to get him to the emergency room. I don't know what they're going to do, but at least, you know, it gets him out of the house into another, you know, safer location. So we dialed 911, but to get an ambulance. You know, we asked for the ambulance to come because we didn't want to put him in the car because that's not a safe situation. You know, you're driving and then your child is in the back thrusting and losing control, and you don't want to get into an accident after something happens to the family in the car or, you know, other people in their car. So it's not such a good idea to do while they're that upset.
Absolutely not when they're doing that, yeah.
No. So with that, we called. We figured the ambulance would be coming. They would be helping us get him in, get to the hospital. But along with the ambulance, because they heard it was a little guy, a 9-year-old boy, they comes the police. So there's about two police cars and 3 police officers. So they come in the house and they decide that they want to take statements from each party by themselves. You know, separate.
Now they're thinking there's a domestic situation
Yes.
going on when they see the condition of your home.
Right. Even though we were saying my son has autism, he's really upset, he's getting, you know, his behavior is really irate and he's going out of control, they still felt like this could not be a 9-year-old running around doing this. This has to be like some kind of, you know, this is what they're forming in their mind, like some kind of domestic situation, and the woman just can't say it in front of the husband kind of thing, you know?
Yeah.
So that's why they separate us. But in the meantime, my son was by the door when they first came in, so they decided to put him outside in the front porch by himself and close the door behind them. So now we have the 3 police officers inside and the child. So by
Oh,
this time,
great.
my
Eddie's
husband's yelling
outside
at
by
them.
himself. Yes, thank you.
Yeah,
Oh, wonderful.
you know, because now if he runs in the street, he has no idea what a car can do to him. Until this day, he
They
still
don't
doesn't
stop
understand.
and look at the street.
No. To this day, he still doesn't understand that when a person gets hit by a car, it's like serious injury, you know. It just doesn't click like that to them at all.
No.
So if he ran into the street while no one's watching him, he could have gotten hit by a car because my street's kind of busy, you know. And then there were like gardening tools out front too, in the front porch area, like to the side. But you know, it was just like a scary feeling for that moment to feel like he was out there by himself for that time, especially in the condition he was in. You know,
And so your husband did try to tell him that, you know, he's autistic, he's in danger at this moment when you shut that door.
At this moment, right, they shut the door, and my husband just lost it, you know. He was like, no, you can't keep him out there. He's going to hurt himself, or he's going to run into the street. And he's like, he's autistic. And they were yelling at my husband to just be quiet, do not say a word, or he was going to be arrested. And then my husband, of course, started saying,
You're calling people because you need help, right? You have a child that's going to hurt himself or somebody, and now he's outside with the door shut between you, and you're being threatened with arrest.
Right. And now that makes like, we're not feeling bad enough as it is as parents. You know what I mean? Like, we're not feeling the trauma. I mean, I would never have thought in my life that I would be in a situation where this kind of behavior would exist in our family. You know?
God, I know.
I always wanted a peaceful, quiet, we're working hard people. We go to work. You know, even with my son's disability, I'm out there grinding it to the ground, you know, but still...
With the school calling and the late nights and the everything
Right,
else.
you know, trying to keep a job, you know, even though, you know, it's part-time because I couldn't get it full-time because of
It's like
the
having a
situation.
newborn. That's how much you got to pay attention for 12 years.
Oh, yeah. So the emotions that you feel when an authority where you're trying to get help from is looking at you like you're a lowlife, like this is something that you've done, and then we're already feeling horrified, terrified, and just, low that we have the police yelling at us to remain quiet or we're going to be arrested.
Oh my God. I can
Pretty
imagine
shocking
Ed.
at that moment. It was
Oh
just like,
God.
it's like, okay, one more thing. You have got to be kidding me. We finally, one of the, it was the sergeant that was yelling at my husband, but one of the police officers was kind enough to open the door, to say, oh, let me open the door just to check on it. And it's a good thing because he was out there with two sharp objects in his hand.
God, oh
You
my
know?
God.
And, he got them off of him, and then he brought him back into the house. By that point, they could see, right?
Jesus Christ. I could just
So now,
imagine. I'd be in tears. I'm sorry. Just about
I
listening to
wasn't
you
in
because I love your
tears.
little boys, both of them. I absolutely adore them.
I wasn't in tears till, when the energy, because he's such an adrenaline rush with everything going on, that by the time everything slowed down, then I just started breaking down. So then when he comes in, right,
Yeah.
they're talking to me, and they're saying, well, what's the situation here with your son, And I said, well, he has autism, and he's this, you could see the house and everything. And they kind of had this puzzled look like, I can't believe that this child would do this.
So
But
Eddie's not melting down at this point. He's all right.
At this
He's
point,
interested in the cops, right?
right, at this
Oh, God.
point, right,
I
he
know it's not
runs
funny,
like
but
a
Jesus.
bull. I mean,
Okay.
Paula, you would have been dying because it was almost comical in a sense, but it was, like, horrific. At this point, Eddie runs like a bull right into my 36-inch TV that I had,
Oh, my God.
and he pushes it and knocks it, and it falls down. And then the cops, were stunned. Then all of a sudden, he started running back to the couch. So he's doing his behavior thing,
Yeah.
He's not calm. The medicine's got him all wild up and running around.
Jesus, what did they give him?
They would not touch him. They
Well,
would
that's
not
smart
touch him.
because Six tried to fingerprint Jordan and it didn't happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
The Six cops I thought was funny, but I had to
Yeah.
hold that back and laugh later.
So
Like,
what I
you
did
see
was,
that kid? They couldn't hold him. I was so proud, though.
yeah, it's like super strength. It's like, little Supermen or something.
I know.
Midget Supermen. I mean, they're so strong. They just, it was like, so from there, Ed and I try to get him down to, kind of restrain him, hold him so that he can stop running, so he can stop hurting himself, so he wouldn't. They try to hold him too, of course, and he was very strong. The ambulance come, and he was so quick that, as soon as we got him outside, he was wanting to run. Then they got him onto the gurney. They had to strap him so that way they could keep him on there. So, yeah, it was, I think they were so shocked. It was such a shocking thing for them to see because they've never seen it before. The one person said, oh, my goodness, we don't have training in this at all. All we've ever been trained is for the elderly for Alzheimer's.
Wow.
So
Which
they
also
just,
will not stop if a policeman thinks they are suspicious or up to no good with verbal commands.
right. And that was, that's the other thing that's scary too. It's like how would they approach a person with, along the spectrum, and how would they know how to deal or know that they are, So it's just but there are ways to kind of like, okay, because when you start talking to a person, like we know, that you see the signs if they're not talking to you, they're not replying back, they're kind of like nervous and, you know, kind of like they're guilty of something, but they're not, you know.
Yeah, like I said, don't meet your eyes. And someone wrote in the chat line, Anon2625, thank you for writing, says, my son started the rocking himself after he had had a set of vaccines. Wouldn't let me cut his hair or nails. Ha ha. It takes 2 or 3 people to get Jordan's haircut. Wouldn't let anyone take a photo of him. Out of control by kindergarten. Made it barely through the first grade. But by second grade, had to take him out of public school and homeschool him. We were
Right.
lucky. We were lucky. My heart goes out to all of you. It's the vaccines, by the way. Sure, you know that. And I saw, Jordan just after the MMR. But he was just, he shouldn't have been given any of that stuff, especially as a premature baby. But
Right.
these,
That's a whole nother good topic to talk about, let me tell you.
oh yeah, Dr. Andrew Wakefield. I've got a book for you actually by him. I need to get
Oh,
to
that's
you.
great.
Yeah, I'll send that over to you. But absolutely. So um, anyway, a neighbor had this happen behind me. You know the orange grove back there.
Yeah.
They had their coffee. They sit down and they look up. There's a man sitting in the front of their car, and he's rolling a quarter back and forth. And they think this guy's on drugs. What's this guy doing in our car? But Terry was level-headed and went out and he I would have been scared, but he went out and asked him what he was doing, and the man reached in his pocket and took out a popsicle stick with his address in it.
Oh.
Yeah, and he was from a neighborhood over the way, so I guess he just got
So
in
was
their
he
car. He
lost?
got lost, yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, and I just, when he said he put his hand in his pocket, how scared he was, that's another reason the first responders, not just for the kids, but adults,
Right.
you just got to be
That's the
extra,
thing,
extra
too.
sure. To them, it looked like a guy on drugs.
Right. So now it would be nice, like, if he did call first responders, that they would know some training to say, okay, let's see what's happening with this individual. Let's see what the story is before, going through the regular drill, let's say, and a tragedy might happening,
Yeah.
And, not so long ago there was a situation with the father in Florida.
Oh my gosh, yes, we were just talking about that. Let me see if I can find that link.
Um, that's a shame. Trying to.
Yes, because I want to share that again. His son, which is autistic, was driving and was pulled over by a Florida policeman, and the father got in the
Well,
car,
yeah,
or
right.
his truck actually. You tell it, Linda. I'll find the.
Well, what happened was he got a phone call from his son, and his son just got his driver's license. Like he's like Asperger's, so he's functioning enough in life where, he's making really nice strides, But in social situations, he's still getting, nervous. He's got to adjust to it. He's getting, he's a young adult. So he just got his license, and he passed the driving, and now he's on his own, right? So now his
Yeah.
father's saying, okay, you're on your own. Because, you need to drive in order to go to work and stuff like that. So for some reason, he got pulled over by the police, The child contacts the father because now he's freaking out. He doesn't know what to expect from a police officer, what he'll say. He just got nervous. So the father said, okay, give me the information where you are so I just can come down and talk to the police. Not that he wanted the police to, okay, if he went through a red, I don't know if he went to a stop sign or didn't stop correctly or whatever it
Or
was.
whatever he
Like,
was
okay,
pulled for, yeah.
right, if he gets a ticket, he gets a ticket. He's like, that's fine. He just wanted to let them know, for his son's safety, that this is a person with Asperger's, and that, what he might look suspicious is not. He's just going to be overly nervous about the whole thing. and might repeat himself over and over.
Yeah, he may say, "Oh
Might
my
have
God, oh my God, oh my God," and he thinks
yeah,
he's on drugs or drunk at this point.
right. Or maybe have a certain tick, like snap his fingers and, because they have ticks as well.
Absolutely.
So this poor man, after sitting in his car, he didn't get out of his car. He was just yelling over to the police officer, "My son has autism. I'm just, letting you know." And the police officer's yelling back at him that he needs to leave the scene. And he tells him again, "I'm just saying, my son has autism." From just him saying that, the police officer comes over and tells him to get out of the car. Calls another,
It's a nightmare.
I guess another patrol officer to come to help him assist him in the situation. But what transpires next, and there's a little video of it.
I put it in the chat line, you guys that are
Okay.
listening.
Yeah, because it's really a shame. They tase the man. They pull him out of the car. He was sitting in the car. He goes, "I don't think I'm doing anything wrong. I'm just letting you know that my son has autism." And
If it
they're
was
yelling
my
at
son,
him
I'd
get
want to
out
see
of the
what they were
car.
doing. I wouldn't dare leave and not see what they were doing with him. It's
Right.
just,
They just, they pull him out. They tased him. They charged him with harming one of the officers, but he didn't do anything. And in the video, you could see that after tasing him, he was down. And he has a
yeah.
heart
He has a heart condition, yeah.
Right. Sometimes they make these charges just so that, they can actually put you in jail for some, So, of course, they make those, so there's a couple of them, that whenever you get stopped by an officer, assaulting an officer, and it could be, I don't know, your spit going on and by accident on, when you're talking. There
Yeah,
are certain
oh,
assault things that
Jesus.
they say, police officers. But in this situation, I think they abused it a lot more than they should have. So right now, this is happening in, what was it? Was it Monroe County?
Yes, Monroe County.
Monroe County. It seemed like it happened on 5/18, and they do have, if you're in Florida, to get in touch with the sheriff's department in Monroe County. And I think, can I say the person's name? Because it's on
Yes.
YouTube.
Yes.
It's Mr. Sherman. His name is Mr. Sherman. It says, "Call Brad King, 5th Judicial Circuit," and there's a number. Can I give the number out?
Absolutely.
So it's the 5th Judicial Circuit, and it's 352 61. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I'm dyslexic, and it's just 352-671-5800. And it's,
It's crazy.
asking that they, let this poor man go, or,
You know what it's going to cost this
make it
family?
fair.
Now he's got to hire an attorney. He's probably had to put the
He
house
did.
up
He
for
had to
bail.
hire an attorney. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, it's
He
going to be a
did.
nightmare.
His name is Roy Sherman. Oh, he's facing 3 criminal charges for allegedly assaulting a police officer and resisting arrest. So,
Somebody said we should have warned them. It was really graphic. I mean, it's a YouTube. Usually with these arrests, they don't go down pretty. It is graphic, and although it's not easy to look at, people need to see what's going on. I mean,
right,
this
'cause
was
that
a
could be
public
me.
freaking road. You were going to walk by. You could drive by and see that guy writhing like that.
Right. I mean,
It's
that was right. That could be any one of us without child out there.
That could have been Ed. Just had that one guy not turned and thought maybe I better check on the kid.
Right.
And let Eddie back in.
Because once again, as a parent, we're just in fear of how our children are going to be treated by, the justice system, how they look upon them, and how,
And how
you're not
we will be
educated enough,
judged, and they will be judged.
you know. I just want my son to be safe. You know what I'm saying? Like I would just, I don't know, I would just crawl in a hole if anything happened to Eddie because
Oh, God.
he was
Yeah.
misunderstood and stopped by an officer or whatever, and not, you know, someone who's trained to understand that something's not right with this person and they need help rather than, you know, resisting and you know, and doing in that manner.
Absolutely.
You
Latest
know,
numbers, 1 in 28 boys in the United States will be born with autism. There is
wow.
no decline. No decline. Let's go to a song, and it's a feel.
Nothing's never what it seems. Static in my wildest dream makes my nightmares bleed. And radios broadcast the news of atom bombs and sophomore blues. I think we need a new life. I can feel it coming. We'll never taste the sunshine. We'll never taste the sunshine again. Oh, and I can see it coming from a mile away. From a mile away. Short to the fat, give it away and give it back. And all my friends are shadows, but we're too busy to notice the ghosts that float above us, singing songs we've yet to from a mile face. No. Oh, when I can see, when I can feel the coming, oh, we'll never taste the sunshine. We'll never taste the sunshine.
That was a local band here, Clearwater, Florida, a young group called Rising Down. I think they're amazing and very talented. So we're back, and we've been sharing some experiences because we really want to get home the importance of first responders not coming up and arresting family members or shooting uh, disabled people because they don't understand. And you're starting something in your area,
Yeah.
Belinda. Can you tell us
Well,
about that?
after that experience, I started digging in a little bit and trying to find out more information. And I found that it's hard to just show up at a police department and ask them questions because they have no clue either. But
And then they'll think you're
you
on
would think they
drugs
would
and you'll
know
get arrested
something.
again. So
Right. You would think they would know something. But after reading on stuff, I found out the way you, at least in my area, but if it's if you want to get something done, you have to do your research and you have to do your footwork to
oh God,
get the topic open and get your way in. And if you do it with other parents around you, and I know there are parents around your neighborhood that are going through the same thing,
absolutely.
get their support too, because like I say, in numbers, you get things done. When you're just one person, they don't want to hear, they don't want to listen. Okay, and the next thing you know, you never hear back from them. So I found out that through, now it just slipped my mind. What's it called? It's the Steuben County Office of Emergency Services, and I believe they get some funding through the new security. What is it? The security, Homeland Security. Right?
Oh yeah, INS.
And with that is really, in case there is like an emergency, like a national, a disaster, like natural disaster, flooding and stuff that goes on. Maybe you live in a zone where there's fires and they have to evacuate everyone. They've come up with a form that has, it's a special needs registration form. And on there, they have specific things that you would need, like if there was someone who's in a wheelchair or someone who even has like an oxygen tank or chronic health problems or bedbound, And on there they have mental/developmental disability. And they want to know this information for when they have to evacuate. But at the same time, they have it for when you need emergency service. So
Yes.
they give you a card, and it'll be, this form you fill out first, they make something that's called for them to use as a SIM card. It's kind of like a little card that gives them a little alert information to say, okay, this house that you're going to as an ambulance and police or even fire department, it'll say, okay, they have a child that's special needs. They have autism or other illnesses, and it'll help them know what they need, what they're preparing themselves to go into. So if I'm a parent that calls for help and I'm saying, oh my gosh, my child is going through such and such, they already know from my information that I've handed them what the situation is. So they're not going in blindly and saying, okay, are they just telling us a story or is this a domestic violence going on?
Yeah. Like
It-
you
it-
said, they came into your house. They said a 9-year-old did this. Come on.
Right. The more families that do this, then the community and the officials know there's a need for it. You know, they start realizing, holy cow, wait a minute, we do have a whole society of people living in our area that are in need of certain things.
Gosh,
And
I
that we
think
have
of
to look
Florida and all
upon
the
them.
elderly, you know. The
Right,
database would be really thick here, just on the
right,
coast alone.
right.
Mm.
But at least they can then figure out what they need, training, right? Let's say training. Well, you need funding for training. And if they have to, apply for grants through the government for training,
The
then there's
grants are
data
there.
to show.
Yeah.
There's proof and data to show when they're applying for that grant, hey, wait a minute, there is a community here of need of this service for training for officers and first responders what to do, you know? But like I said, it's more of a community getting together. Now, the other way you can do it, too, is talking to your school officials, special pupil services, the person who deals with special education and classes, and just have a conversation with them. Strike it up, say, hey, we want to make it safer for our children. You know, they do the best they can at the schools, right? Because if they're in need of assistance there, or whether emergencies, something arise, they have all the numbers of the pupils that are there and their special needs to account for when there's an emergency, And I think talking to them, they might say, you know what, this is something good to make sure that the children are safe at school and they can be safe at home. And there's not situations where, family services are coming in to take the kids away. Now, especially, think of it this way. You live in a house, and like with us, we were really private. You go into something,
Oh,
you don't want to talk to
that's
your
the
neighbors about it.
common. I
Yeah,
know women in Florida wearing long sleeves going up to that Paul B. Stevens going, I don't want to talk about it. I'll
yeah,
talk to a
you don't,
parent, but I'm not talking to anyone else, kind of.
yeah. You don't want to talk to your neighbors about what's happening. But if your neighbors are hearing crashing and screaming from the top of the lungs, and they're thinking, oh my gosh, something horrible is happening in that house. I'm going to call the police, right? And they call them, and then, children evolve, and then they decide, oh, well, we got to take these kids out of the house and see what's going on. Things like that might be, derailed for a while if they understand, well, look what's happening. Let's see. These parents, they signed, and we know the information because they've put it in, and they've gotten this service, that, to try to help them, what's funny here is that when I went to the emergency room with my son, that's a whole nother emergency
Now,
visit.
was this the
Hey,
same night, or, oh, this was a
yeah,
different night?
it was the same night. It was the beginning of many nights. How about that?
Okay. Oh my God, because you don't know what to do. So
Right.
well, let's finish this story. Let's find out what happened to you. Right now,
So,
Eddie
yeah,
just turned into a bull and plowed your television.
right. Eddie plowed into the television.
He's
They were
such a sweet
shocked.
little boy. You just don't understand. But
Yeah, and he's, oh my gosh, when you see my son, he's just gorgeous.
he
You would
is
never
gorgeous.
tell
I
that there
almost
was
would describe him,
anything.
but I just, because of the public, no, I want to keep him private. But God, I
But
just
there's
adore him.
nothing
You've got
wrong with his
gorgeous
features.
babies.
Like, right, you couldn't tell. Like, he's
Oh
just
gosh, you look at
a
Eddie.
developing
He
a
doesn't look
boy.
mentally ill. It's like, but they don't look autistic. Yeah, well.
Right. And um, so when he was running around, knocking things over, we had to restrain him, get him on that gurney, and stop him from running. The fear was him running into that window, and I was like, oh, he's just going to cut himself so bad. It's going to be horrible. After the police were, done with being shocked, they tried to help restrain him, too, as well, they didn't know how to hold him. That's the other training thing. They didn't know how to hold him without hurting him, and they were afraid. They're like, no, we can't do this because then, he's only, 9, and, so they tried. we got him to the hospital, and as we get into the hospital, he's yelling, screaming, like he's in pain. He's just such in pain. It was traumatic
poor
for them.
thing. Oh, my God.
It was so
poor
traumatic
Eddie.
that one of the officers was in tears. He could not believe it,
Oh, my God.
When
And he
we
had a
got
heart. You could just tell. I like this
Yeah.
guy.
Yeah, because he,
He's
it wasn't
compassionate.
like the typical, I don't know what they go through, police officers, but I'm sure they've gone through many houses that is just a typical, domestic situation that, it wears and tears on people about the stories, you know what I mean? So they kind of toughen up on that. They're like, okay, this is what's happening. This is what we have to deal with. And they toughen up on that. But to see a situation where there's this hardworking family and, it's something out of our control. No matter what we've done to help the situation, to make it right, we just can't, and he can't. It is what it is. There's some things that you just can't control, but you just have to work through it, and, you're hoping for a better ending. And once he calms down, it is a better, It's like,
And he's a
better.
sweet little boy, and do you know did you ever figure out what set him off?
What set him off is that he was on a medication.
Oh, it was the medication, that's right, yeah.
Yeah. It reacted to him violently. This was the worst.
Psychotropic drugs, I'm so afraid of them.
Yeah.
I haven't found anything that
No.
I would say, oh, yeah, you got to use this. This is, I've kept Jordan off of them. He's the only one at his school that isn't taking some type of drug. They tell me that every year as if, I don't know, they're trying to reassure themselves.
I think they have to go through, the worst part of this is them going through adolescence years.
Yeah.
As they get older, I think they stabilize a lot better through behavioral.
Well, actually, you think of a regular teenager, and they've done some experiments with some chemicals and said they're like chemically insane because of high and low rising hormones and different things that they're hit with, not to mention life in high school, and it can be really, really a hard world, especially in the United States, going to school here.
I mean,
so if you put that
this
into...
was a psychiatrist
Yeah.
that he was going to on a monthly basis that was trying, to help by giving this medicine, but no. For my son, no medicine has been able to help. None. And
I know you've had him on vitamins and supplements that have had some of the best reaction. Like, I couldn't believe it one time you had given him this fish oil, a very safe, very pure thing that she was given to him, and he would just take it, and I was just like so impressed with Jordan. Jordan would I could split it up, that little pill, into 16 different cups of juice, and he'd know what was in there. He's got taste like an animal almost, or a smell like that. And I'm not trying to cut down our children. It's that sensitive. There's a hyposensitivity and there's a hypersensitivity. One is Jordan doesn't cry tears. I've seen him cry tears 4 times, So one day when he's just practically dragging his leg and you notice it's swollen, I mean, he's not going to get a little boo-boo. There's no Band-Aids. You don't put Band-Aids on my kids either for some reason.
Oh, mine either.
Oh, no. It's like you're throwing acid on them or something. Dear God, Band-Aid. Jesus Christ, help,
I know. What about when they need stitches?
Oh, no. Okay, I haven't went through that with Jordan, but for dental treatment, we have to have an IV. And that is like 20 people trying to lay across him and not hurt him to get the medicine in. It's just, that's for dental.
Yeah.
Dental hygiene. We have to go to all children's hospital,
Right.
And the child is terrified because they do not understand.
Right.
So they fight.
It's the mouth, too. So much going on with sensory, the taste of food is different, so imagine the smell of the dentist, the
Oh
You know,
dear,
the
yeah.
taste of the stuff they put in your mouth. You know what's weird? Eddie will not take Novocaine.
Do they
He will
work on
not
it
take
without it?
Novocaine.
Well,
Yeah.
he's not conscious to see because he's not opening his mouth. He don't care who you are.
Yeah. Yeah, I was shocked when he didn't want Novocaine. Like he wouldn't, because the feeling, I guess, is the worst thing that he feels like afterwards when it's all numb, and he
Yeah.
can't explain it. You know why this is not feeling. I think it scares him so badly that he just would rather not have it. But so going, like I was saying, going to the emergency room, and then he had to stay overnight because they had to detox him of the chemical
Oh
because he was
God, yeah.
yeah.
Jesus.
He had to go through that detox and get it all out of his system before they would let him. But
I'm
there wasn't
sorry,
really
'cause
much
I
they
know
could do.
this little boy since he was like a tiny baby. I remember the first day you
Yeah.
brought him in there, like, you look like I will kick your ass. Oh, sorry, I've said that A word. I will mess someone up, hurt my child. I just love that about you. It was so cool to meet you at the meetings.
Oh my gosh, he's my world, and
Jordan
still in
took
that
his
sense. Oh
bottles.
my
He had
gosh.
a 6-pack of bottles
That's right.
that he took to school with him. And that's so funny because he's got the most beautiful teeth, and Caleb's the one with braces, for God's sake. But Jordan, he wasn't giving up the bottle. He would be in the hospital dehydrated, have to give him a line. They'd say, "Oh man, the kid will drink when he's
Yeah.
thirsty." Oh, they didn't know Jordan. He
Yeah.
was in really bad shape. He wasn't going to drink out of a cup. Forget it. He'd just die then. They have this will.
The other major thing that I wanted to say was when we were in the hospital. You know how they have a social worker there.
Mhm.
The social worker wants to make sure that you have all the services and everything you need
Yeah.
to ensure that the safety of your child, right?
Yeah.
So with a child with mental health issues, they often try to find a place to kind of have them go to for a day or so to recoup. So that way it gives the family a chance to regain themselves
Sleep.
and to recoup and rethink and
Yeah.
brainstorm.
I'd
They
never
couldn't
heard of
find those
anything like
services.
that.
Really, they have that here in social services because they want to make sure the family, can get stronger from this. Because, Paula, when you have and I give you so much credit, honey, and so many people out there, you're so drained from having to deal, uh,
Are you there? I think I lost you. Let me quickly go to a song and see if I can grab Belinda back.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Awake Radio, straight talk for the awake and aware. Hi, Steve. Hi, Paula. Hi, Ellen. Hi, Neil. And everybody else. Love ya.
When it sounded like a train wreck. Oh. Futures always seem to stray. Like miss you, I miss the way you feel, I miss all the things